What's going on, Pop Samurai fans? This is Jelani Hoon. I'm here at Anime Milwaukee 2018. I'm here with Adam Croasdell. Thank you so much for joining me on the show here to talk a little bit about your body of work and your career. For people out there who may not know what your body of work entails, can you break down a little bit for them?
Yes, of course. On camera, most recently has been a show called Rain. I was Lord Bothwell in Rain for CBS. But I'm predominantly here today at Anime Milwaukee because of my work in Final Fantasy 15 as the voice of Ignis Cientia. And also for, I guess, work as Torvin in Middle-earth. And it's funny, today I actually had a guy come up to me to speak a bit about John Morgan in Dead Island Riptide.
Oh.
So there's a few. And coming out, if you're at all interested, is Batman Ninja, the new animated feature from Warner Brothers and DC, and I'll be playing...
You play Alfred, correct?
I play Alfred and Nightwing. So, yeah.
Yes, I'm looking very forward to that. Well, I guess we could start there a little bit with Batman Ninja. What kind of drew you to the project? Was it kind of just a casting part, or did you have an interest in this whole story?
Yeah, well, look, I think probably like most boys in the world, I'm an absolute Bat fan, and anything to do with Batman, I'm extremely interested in. I guess I auditioned for the part quite a long time ago, and then I forgot completely about it. And suddenly I got the call, and they said, "Hey, you're Alfred," and I said, "Are you kidding me? That's brilliant." And then they said, "And you're also Nightwing." And I was like, "Oh," like all my Christmases at once. So
there you go.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah. And of course, I'm a massive fan of the Japanese creators of this particular version, and the styling of the characters is extraordinary. It just, without any need for spoiler alerts, the basic idea is that Batman and his the various sorts of heroes associated with Batman are transported back to feudal Japan, where they meet the Joker and assorted villains that are also back in feudal Japan. But the styling of all the sort of iconic superhero garb that everybody knows is Japanese style in the period, and it is a magnificent feast for the eyes. I think you guys are really going to enjoy it.
Nice. When does that come out, actually?
That comes out, I think, in March. It's either March or May of this year.
Okay. Look forward to that, guys.
Yeah.
That's going to be awesome.
Yeah, a couple of months.
Going maybe further back a little bit, starting with like your career in theater and starting there, what drew you to the craft of acting and wanting to be in theater?
Yeah, it's funny. I'd always wanted to be an actor ever since about age 7, and got involved in various plays and in school and so on. At about age 17, I said to my mum, "Right, that's it, I'm off to America. I'm gonna get into movies in America." And she went, "Over my dead body." And she said, "You're off to university with you." So I went to university for 4 years, studied drama, acting, screenwriting and television. And then as soon as that was done, I was lucky enough to, my first role outside drama school was to be in a production of Antony and Cleopatra in England at the Royal National Theatre, as it then was. It's now the National Theatre. And Helen Mirren played Cleopatra, and Alan Rickman, who some of you might know as Snape, played Anthony. So it was quite the first job to get out of university. So I count myself very lucky to have had that start. And I've always had the theatre bug. I love it, and I think there's probably no greater training than theatre for any actor. So I've done a lot of theatre, but having been in the States for the past several years, I've not done theatre. I've done TV, film, and now video games.
Yeah, you've had a plethora of roles. I mean,
Yeah.
I predominantly for TV remember you from you had a short little bit on Supernatural.
That's
you were
right.
there for
Yes,
a little bit.
that's right.
Which, guys, I know that. That's good.
Yeah. Beldor, he was leader of the pagan gods. We got our asses handed to us by Lucifer, I thought, without much of a fight. Come on, quickly.
I mean,
give us more.
You had a wonderful blaze come out of you for a little bit, a little fight with him, but sadly,
Sadly,
fell too soon.
Fell to Pellegrino. Damn you, Pellegrino.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it was fun. From there, your voice acting recently was Final Fantasy, not only in the film The Kingsglaive, but along with the video game.
That's right.
What drew you to that project there?
Oh, well, that was an interesting one as well, because with a lot of these projects that you go in for, they're all code named and you actually just don't know what you're getting into. And I auditioned for it, I think once from my studio, and then I got called in to be seen by the director, Keith Farley. And we had a really nice sort of audition session between us. And then I didn't think anything of it. You've got to just sort of shake these things off. And by the way, I didn't know what it was for. And then I got the call maybe about a week or so later, sort of going, right, you're it. You're one of the 4 main characters in Final Fantasy 15. And I just reeled, because I was, who doesn't know about the franchise? What I didn't know was that it had been 10 years since the previous iteration, and that there was a massive expectancy about it. And
yeah, it was a massive.
Yeah, and I was just like, there came a moment, initially, as an actor, you've sort of just got to get on with the job and just do what you do and hopefully make it as good as you can. But after a while, and talking to the other lads, we suddenly started to edge into this realm of, oh boy, we really hope this is going to be good. if it's not good after 10 years, then So there was a moment of like, oh boy, but we're very glad that it turned out the way it has, and the fans seem to really like it, and we've absolutely loved doing it for everybody.
Now, personally, myself, Ignis was my favorite of the crew.
I'll
there.
shake your hand again, mate.
Yeah. Again, for me, my personal favorite thing is I love to cook, and Ignis he was totally interested in cooking, and I was like, well, you know what? He has a smooth voice, and he, here comes the cooking. So, I'm fine with it.
Oh, that's great, mate.
From there, can you talk a little bit about what are your hobbies outside of acting, like things that you really enjoy, outside of just acting and creativity? What other outlets do you do?
Yeah, well, I'm a massive fan and proponent of yoga and meditation. I think we should all meditate a lot. I think when you find that calm space in your mind and in your life, the answers come easier. Everything eases up quite a lot. So I would highly recommend it to anybody who hasn't tried it. A lot of people say, "Oh, I can't do it," and I say to you, initially it's a little tricky. It's like, but once you got it, and it only gets better from there. So I love meditation, yoga. I like running. I like hiking. Thankfully, in LA, we can do a lot of that. I'm a diver. I scuba dive. I enjoy that a lot. I also write, and I find writing very sort of meditative anyway. And there's nothing, as an actor, you're waiting a lot of the time for people to offer you work, whereas a writer, you can sort of sit there and create universes, and you're in control. So writing, I find very, very therapeutic too.
Is that something that you're doing more creative writing, or is it something more of like memoirs or things like that?
Oh, yeah, maybe a little young for memoirs yet, but I do. I trained as a screenwriter at university, and I've just actually completed a World War II spy thriller screenplay. So we're starting to shop it around town. So let's see how that does.
No, fingers crossed.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Yeah.
From there, moving on to future things like that. Do you have any roles that you're working on right now, or things? Not secretive things, but things that you have down the pipeline, or things that you're working on right now.
Yeah, there's a couple of things. Of course, just living in the sort of slightly legal climate that we all live in, you can't say too much about these things. But I have a virtual reality project that I'm working on. I have been working on for some time, and we've already done sort of phase 1 of that. So hopefully people will be seeing some of that pretty soon. I'll be able to talk about that more on social media when I'm allowed to. And the other thing that we've been working on is a travel show. So I hopefully will be presenting a travel show in the very near future. Oh, all being well.
Very good. I'm a traveling man. So it seems like you just kind of really just are into voice acting. Do you prefer one over the other? Do you have just like a one that really tickles your fancy?
Right. Yeah. Well, it's interesting because they both quite different disciplines. I think there's something about the immediacy of voice acting which is quite refreshing. You know, when we are acting for a TV show, obviously in theatre you have tons of time to rehearse. In television you have almost no time to rehearse. In film you have a little bit of time to rehearse. When you get into doing something like Final Fantasy, you have zero time to rehearse. They won't give you the script ahead of time because it's all so secret and, you know, all the legal involved. So you literally arrive on the day and they give you your pages and you're like, okay, I guess this is what we're doing today, and you go almost straight into it. You've got to just dig in and grab everything you can from your emotional recall and give it sort of in the moment. So in a way, like, voice acting is great in terms of not having to do the massive amounts of preparation that you have to do for theatre and for film and TV. I quite like being able to come in and then be on the spot and do the work sort of in the moment. They close off that door and everything goes very quiet, and suddenly you just feel like you're in a little diving bell. I keep calling it the diving bell, and it feels very calming. So there's something that I like about that very much. On the other hand, in film and TV, there's something great about the physicality of film and TV, especially sort of doing stunts or action stuff, which I've done a fair amount of. That is just so utterly thrilling, you know, that you can't get that obviously in a voice booth. You can't. I've done these things like sliding down these guy lines and doing backflips and throwing knives at the same time. I mean, you just can't do that in a booth, obviously.
Yeah.
So
it's
so
all
there's
in
a lot
your head
to
in
be
the
said.
booth.
Yeah, it's all in your head in the booth, exactly. So there's a lot to be said for both, actually, and I'm lucky enough to be able to do both.
Okay. How do you prepare for a role, whether it's voice acting or acting? I mean, is the meditation the thing that you do to get yourself into the role or really prepare for it, or is it something else that you do?
Meditation, I just do as a matter of course every day. I just think it's great for us. Certainly a lot of interesting thoughts come up in meditation about, it's rather like if you sleep on a problem and you wake up in the morning and you have the answer or an answer for the thing that you were thinking about. Meditation can often do that for you. But in terms of preparing for an acting role, I mean, I think it was it Jack Nicholson who said, whatever works for you, that is the method. It doesn't have to be method acting per se. It doesn't have to be, you know, Stanislavski or Sanford Meyer. It can be whatever works for you, and you can cherry pick the best bits. And so it depends what the role is asking for. It really helps to get the costume on, like to speak to the costume designer and say, give me the shoes at least, let me feel how this guy walks. Give me, you know, get the hair done. Like I start, like I quite like a physical transformation. I quite like sort of changing my own look into something different. That always helps. And I like playing with accents as well. And that when the accent and the look starts to happen, you know, and obviously you're doing all your prep through reading through the script and finding out all you can about the character, all the reading that you can do. That's all very cerebral, and it's all has its place and sits in your system. But I quite like it when it starts getting visceral, when it starts getting sort of, you know, like a little bit of dirt under the nails, and I don't know, like losing weight or gaining weight or any of those types of things really sort of help me a lot. And playing with the voice of the character especially, I find very, very fascinating. And it starts to actually inform the body. The more you sort of play with the voice, that the body starts, strangely enough, to hold itself another way.
Is there a role that you have, like, in your mind that, like, you put the most into, where it's like, well, if I put on all the weight or lost all the weight for this role and I really got into the headspace of this character, is there one that really stands out for you?
That's interesting. I did a movie not so long ago called Hatchet Hour, which was a couple of years ago, and I had to lose a bunch of weight. I'd put on like a lot of bulk for something else, and I was just like, oh no, I'm going to have to like cut all. So all the sort of nutrition side and the exercise side had to sort of come in, and he was a kind of a greasy, sort of dirty, very sort of satirical comedian like Bill Hicks, and so there was a lot that I had to do to prepare for him, because I don't know if you guys know, but I'm sure you can appreciate that the act of being a stand-up comedian is firstly very brave, and then secondly, you either have funny bones or you don't. And I mean, comedy can be learnt to a point, but I think people are either very funny or they're not, in a way. And so it required a lot. It required this guy being sort of on the bones of his ass. He had not much food in his stomach, not much money in his pocket, and a lot of attitude. And then had to sort of satirically observe the world and deliver it sometimes in a humorous way. I think that took a lot of preparation. It was quite out of my sort of wheelhouse in a way.
That's really cool. That's really cool. For people out there who might be thinking of getting into the acting career or theater voice acting, do you have any advice for them out there or anything?
Run! Run now!
Well, there you go.
No, it's exacting. I think know that. So my chief piece of advice, like, this is assuming that this is really something that you want to do, and that you have the skill to do it. You know, you've practiced your voices, and you've had some training, hopefully in drama schools or with a coach. You know, and you've got some chops. Assuming all that, my primary piece of advice would be to have a survival job, and I don't mean it in a belittling way. I mean, do it so that your mind can just rest easy in those times when the acting takes a little while to sort of happen for you. There's a lot of waiting around for jobs. There's a lot of waiting, even when you have the job. You know, you're waiting around on set. There's a lot of waiting involved. So if you can find ways to make that waiting period sort of creative, and hopefully put some money in your pocket so you can pay rent and not have to stress about it, then that would be my primary thing to say about it. So get great acting training, and get training that allows you to earn money while you are a performer, while you are an artist, because there's nothing worse than sort of freaking out watching your bank balance sort of dip while you're waiting for the next job. So yeah, get a great coach, and keep observing and keep practicing accents, keep practicing little scenes, keep practicing characters. Watch people, observe them, see what makes them tick.
Okay, very cool. For the folks at home, if anybody's looking to follow you or find out more about you, is there anywhere they can go to check out more about, Mr. Adam Croasdell?
Yes, there is. I'm on Twitter under Adam Croasdell, and I'm on Instagram under A Croasdell, or it might be the other way around. Try Adam Croasdell or A Croasdell. Yeah, it's the other way around. I've been told by someone who really knows. So either Adam Croasdell or A Croasdell on Twitter and Instagram, and you'll find me there.
Okay, guys, thank you so much for joining us for this wonderful interview. Again, find out all about Pop Samurai. Follow us on Instagram at Pop Samurai, Twitter at Pop Samurai Cast, and then don't forget to check out the website, popsamurainetwork.com. And thank you guys so much for joining us. Thank you, Adam, for coming on.
You're welcome,
It's been wonderful. Catch you guys later, and stay tuned for more from Anime Milwaukee.
Take care, guys.